The Vice President's arrival to the Federal Executive Council weekly meeting gave nothing unusual away until the message came. The President has been absent for the third week in a row. It is also observed that few ministers attended today's cabinet meeting. The Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, explained that the President's absence is to enable him more rest.
We just concluded the Federal Council meeting. I said, of course, you noticed that the President was not there. He was not there because he actually sent word that he wanted to rest today, and he asked the VP to preside over today's meeting. In addition, he also asked that all his files be taken home to him and will be working from home today.
Meanwhile, the Minister of Health says the federal government will go into a joint partnership with a private firm to start local production of vaccines from the Yaba Vaccines Laboratory, which was abandoned since 1991.
A memo is coming to FEC in respect of this. It's also important to note that we are talking to some other companies. Some other people have shown interest so that we can start putting into place a mechanism for local production of vaccines.
Okay, so a number of things happened yesterday. Well, that particular press briefing, many interpreted it as though, as you have seen in the dailies, how long, or when, or where, about the president attending FEC meeting. But then you also have the states who we did look at yesterday, whether or not they're paying salaries or they're indebted. Well, we've got a guest who's going to respond to some of these matters. And Mark, go ahead.
Well, thank you, Chamberlain. I have with me Mr. Yinusa Tanko, who is the chairman of the National Conscience Party. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Nigerians.
Well, quickly, what was your impression when yesterday, for the third consecutive week in a row, President Buhari wasn't present at the Federal Executive Council meeting?
I don't know how to make it a statement out, because for the fact is that Mr. President is sick. Everybody knows it's a public notice. I don't think we should evaluate ourselves on this issue of Mr. President. I think we should be concerned about his health. Saying that he's going to work from home signifies that probably the kind of passion he has for the country and all. But then the question is, does that affect the performance of the Vice President? Obviously not, because we've seen that the Mr. Vice President has been up to the task after Mr. President went for medical treatment abroad. And here we are again, people were talking about his health and all. It became a subject of concern to me. Mr. President's health need to be known to the public. They shouldn't keep this his health matter in shrouded secrecy, because it gives room for speculation. If Mr. President is sick, I thought by now, what they told us was that he's going back in 2 weeks after he came back, he's going back for the medical check. I think he should be more concentrating on his own health. It's very, very important, because if he doesn't have a good health, he cannot be able to perform. So, being his health, I think we should just move away from it and allow the man to concentrate on his own health. That is my own impression.
How do we do that? Because it would seem, as you rightly said, that the president, we heard he was supposed to have gone back for treatment. He hasn't gone. And every time, you know, it's a Federal Executive Council meeting, people are waiting to see if he's going to come and preside over the meeting. And when he doesn't, you know, there are always speculations as to, you know, is he okay? Is he recovering? But every time you speak with his aides, there's a newspaper headline that said that President Buhari is recovering just fine. Don't rule him out for the 2019 elections. It would seem that all of this is political.
Well, that's another area, the way Nigerians perceive, the way they handle things. We're talking about Mr. President. If he's sick, he's sick. Let us know his status. But don't cover it up with, you know, political statements. And that is where it's dangerous. But when it comes to his health, it's very, very important. You know, the truth about it is that at the moment now, it seems to us, the way he's been appointing and all, that he's not incapacitated of performing. And then if we are to establish that, of course, Chapter 6 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Section 144, 1A, stipulate that to confirm the incapability of Mr. President or Mr. Vice President, a resolution of 2/3 must be passed by the Federal Executive Council to the Senate, before the Senate President and the Federal House of Representatives constitute a medical committee, including his personal physician, plus president of the Medical Council, and 3 other eminent Nigerians who are medically qualified to look at Mr. President, whether he's capable or not. But in this situation, it doesn't seem to be so. So nothing is lost at the moment now, except if we find out that Mr. President is incapacitated to perform his duty. So, but my own concern is that we don't need to play politics with his health. It's dangerous for this country. That is very, very important.
I came across a very controversial post. Now, some people were saying that, we should hold, if anything should happen to Mr. President in Aso Villa, we should hold certain people responsible, that they believe that the president is being prevented from going to look after his health. Do you also hold that belief?
No, I don't, because Mr. President himself, when there was a rumor making rounds that he was poisoned, he came out and said he wasn't poisoned. So, and I think he has one of his most closest allies to him, which of course is his own uncle, and Mr. President hold him firm. So if anything should be happening, I think that person should know. And I don't like this idea that, in Nigeria it's easy for us. Once you are dressed up or believed to be a Hausa man, anything you say must be in defense of a Hausa man. If you are a Yoruba person, if your leader is a Yoruba person, you want to put up a defense for a Yoruba man. And when you say Igbo man, you want to put up a defense. We need to pass that particular position.
Do you think it will affect governance? Just yesterday at the Federal Executive Council meeting, a lot of reporters noted that it was not as full as it ought to be. In fact, we understand that about 15 ministers were absent from the Federal Executive Council meeting.
And that was what I said some couple of days ago. The cohesiveness and the strength of the Federal Executive Council is not that strong. And I must say with all sense of responsibility that except if there are excuses why they couldn't make it to the Federal Executive Council, as long as Mr. President has given passed the baton to his Vice President, everybody should be on board. These are trying periods, and we have already come to confirm that Mr. Vice President is capable of doing most of the job. In fact, at the point in time, people were saying that Mr. Vice President has done exceedingly well within a short period of time. So the issue is that we need to face the main issue that concerns governance in this country. It's not about the individual, it's about the country. And so if you have somebody who is putting in, because Mr. President and the Vice President are one and the same person in this particular respect. So we should give full support to the Vice President so that he can carry on the action of governance. But if we continue to kind of find a way of not attending meetings when there are crucial issues to be discussed, honestly, the party need to check most of the people that they appoint as ministers.
Is it the party then? Because in this instance, if you say that the President and the Vice are one and the same person, who checks the ministers, when they were not appointed by the Vice President?
No. That's why when you have Mr. President, of course, he chooses his vice to work together with him. So it's expected that if the president is absent, the Vice President take position. So almost the same respect being given to Mr. President, especially when he's not around, the Vice President take full control. So it's not about whether the Vice President appointed, because even when they are discussing before appointment, I'm sure they must have exchanged views as regard to some of the people that have been appointed. So it's completely, let me not use the word indiscipline, for majority of them not to have been at that particular Federal Executive Council. It shows that they're not ready to move the country forward.
Because you say that the party should check the people who were appointed. I mean,
yes.
the ministers, they did not show up at the Federal Executive Council, but one would think that ideally that kind of query should come from the president himself.
Well, that should be to come from the president, but their primary base is the party. And they are selling the party ideology to the people. All the programs of the party is what they are trying to sell to the people. And it is the party that will bear the brunt when it comes to the election in 2019.